On today's show, should you do a print book or an ebook? Hi, and welcome again to the show where, at least recently, we've been talking all about publishing a book, writing a book, etc. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host. And I'd love for you to join the conversation, so leave your questions or comments below the video if you're watching the video. If not, feel free to drop me a line, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com, or hit me up on Twitter, Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAlanclif. So in previous installments, we've talked all about writing a book, editing it, some different strategies for each of those things. Well, let's say that you're self-publishing. You've decided to go that way, and now you're trying to think, well, should I publish a paper book, or should I make it electronic? Well, there are a couple of options for you. First off, if you do it in paperback form, you can do print on demand. Now, what print on demand is traditionally, books would be printed in large lots. So, maybe several hundred or several thousand or even tens of thousands of books, all printed, all the same book, all at once. Now with print on demand and the espresso book machine, we have the ability to print just one copy of each book. So this is really a boon to independent authors because, for example, all of my books only exist on computers until someone orders a hard copy, and then the fulfillment house prints it off and sends it to them. So they don't have to keep thousands of them in stock only to find out I don't sell very many, or sell out really quickly only to realize, oh wow, we really should have printed more. No, they don't have that problem. So while it's more expensive per copy to do it this way, it's also much more flexible. So you could have a warehouse full of paper and cardstock and everything to make books, but from the same batch of paper, you could have one bestseller and then a very small niche book, one right after the other, no problem whatsoever. So this allows a lot of flexibility that we haven't had in the past. So print books are not necessarily out of the reach of independent authors anymore. In fact, I'd say that it's a great time to be an independent author from this very standpoint. Now, a book like, well, this is my second book. This is Tweeting Church, and this book is about 150 pages, and it costs about $3 to print, $2 to $3 to print, and it sells for $14.95. So it really isn't cost prohibitive, but there are a couple of costs that go into it. First off, you have to have the cover designed. I designed this cover myself, so for me it was free, but the time involved. There's actually some interior formatting as well. You can't really see that on the video, but suffice it to say that you probably have not considered interior formatting of books unless you've tried to format one. And that's some work. Getting it all laid out correctly, that's some work. So it could be that the cost associated is taking your raw manuscript, even once it's edited, and turning it into something that looks more like a book. And that can be a little more troublesome. But I don't want to dissuade you from doing this, because there are great services out there that do this, like Lightning Source, Lulu, and the one that I use, which is CreateSpace, owned by Amazon. Speaking of Amazon, the 400-pound gorilla in the room is Amazon's Kindle. Now, the Amazon Kindle is an ebook reader, as most of you probably know, and most of my sales on my book come in the form of Kindle books. That's because really there's no warehousing whatsoever. If someone wants a copy, they can have a copy. There's not even a stack of blank paper waiting to receive this book. They can just get it. So it's really easy to distribute those, again, once they're formatted. Now, Kindle books, unlike print books, tend to be very simple in their formatting. You can do it just as simply as uploading a Word document, for example. I'm a little more technical, so I prefer not to do that. The first book that I wrote, Podcasting Church, I went in arms and elbows into the code and did it all by hand. This book that I just showed you, Tweeting Church, I used an online service to do. My third book, I did that with some desktop software. My fourth book, I had a publisher do it for me. So you see, there's a lot of ways to accomplish this. You can even hire someone for as little as just $5 on Fiverr or more to format your book and get it ready. So should you do paper or ebook? The answer is yes. I think that you should do. You see, ebooks are easy to sell online, but paperbacks are much easier to sell in person. So if you speak, if you set up at conventions, etc., having a lot of paperbacks to sell is going to be a lot easier to do than to sell codes for ebooks. Yeah, see, that's just more difficult. So that's what I want to encourage you to do, is figure out what's best for you and go that direction. And maybe it's both. So I hope that helped you. And if you like this information, go ahead and head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/gifts, GIFTS, and you can sign up to receive either the book that I showed you via electronic copy, or I've got a video course and a course on using ProPresenter, which is software for churches. If you do that, you'll also get a free copy of my newsletter. And I hope you use this information to go out and change eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com. Hi, and welcome again to the take two.